welcome to the One More Thing podcast. I'm joined today with Pastor Larry. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
So we just came off of your favorite weekend of the year, Easter weekend.
That's right.
And what were some of the highlights for you from this weekend?
Well, first of all, Easter for a pastor is, and I use this analogy a lot, and I'm amazed how much it's stuck, but it's like the Super Bowl. And I get to be the quarterback in the Super Bowl, and basically I get to orchestrate how things go, but it's a celebration of life. And this weekend we had a early morning service, of which you led the music there, and it was fantastic. It was out in the area we call the Grove. It's probably a 5-acre tract. It's almost like a park.
It feels like that, yeah.
Very wooded, and we own this very nice mobile semi-truck size stage that we pull out and set it up. And there were hundreds of people there that came to that. And when the sun is coming up, but even before that, many of us were there in the dark.
Yeah. We were setting up in the dark.
And so some guys got there 5:30 to get things set up, and some even before that. But by the time we meander in it a little before 6 o'clock, it's pretty much a beehive of activity. But it was a great morning. There's something about being outside with people that's just refreshing and reminds us of what Easter is like. We kind of feel it a little better.
Yeah.
And it's probably, without a doubt, my favorite service of the year.
It was super special, and the facility team did such an amazing job making that area look great. It was just a wonderful service, and that was definitely one of my highlights. I think this Easter was specifically special just because of the year we've had. We got to see a lot of faces we haven't seen in a while.
Right.
And it was really good.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since we've had an Easter service, and I was telling the congregation in one of the services that my first Easter service was 40 years ago that I became pastor. And in the 40 years, I have preached 35 years of those are Easter. There were 4 years I was on staff at a church to where I didn't get that privilege. The senior pastor did. And one of those years I was in North Florida having my own journey, trying to find out who I was and what my great day would be. And then really, the amazing thing is, the year that I was not preaching, that's the year that it seems like I had this God moment in my life where Suncoast Community Church was born. And it's been my joy for 23 years to be able to pastor what I think is my life's dream.
Yeah. And it's amazing what you've built in this community, and all the hard work you put in to build that is, it's paying off for sure.
Yeah, but in those early days, I'm reminded that I am the minor partner of Suncoast. I think this is, and I say this with needing a lot of explanation, but I really sense that when we do the heart of God, and it's not about the pastor, it's not about the facilities, but it's about making sure we sing the song that God would have us sing in our community, or be a church, a true church that helps our community. That's what makes my heart sing.
Well, that's amazing. Well, I'd like to unpack your Easter message a little bit today. That's what this is for.
Sure.
And I just have to start off by saying you were just on this weekend. Like, I just thought it was so well delivered, so well said. You can tell there was just, you were in your zone. You started off the teaching this weekend with one of my favorite Jesus stories, and it was the story of Mary Magdalene. And I love this story because I think it sums up the essence of Jesus in a way. You have these people that are about to stone Mary because they believe it's what the law and God requires them to do.
Right.
And Jesus steps in, and it's almost like that paradigm shift. We just came off the series Paradigm Shift, to where he draws this line in the sand, and you mentioned we don't know what he wrote.
No, we don't.
But the imagery that you put into place of just, maybe he was writing names. Maybe he was writing their names. I love this idea of Jesus putting love and compassion and grace over law. And I think that's a telling message even for today. I think a lot of times one of our faults as Christians or as people who call themselves spiritual or believe in God, we fall entrapped to that of like judging other people for their sins without looking inwards. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, back to Mary of Magdala, Mary Magdalene. if that is the Mary, we don't know that she's exactly the one caught in adultery, but we suppose she is. We think she is. And when she's thrown to the ground, they've got stones circling her, ready to circle, and he steps up to protect her, starts writing whatever it was in the sand. But if it was their names, then he says these words, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone," which is kind of a little bit of an indicator. You guys, look here, and maybe it's not your name, but it's Uncle Joseph right here.
Right.
Do you want your uncle dragged in here? No, I don't want to be a part of that. But the law, when it is the law, it is impartial, it is absolute, it is judgmental, and it doesn't take into consideration a lot of other factors. There's reasons that people act the way they do.
Yeah.
And I just think that we need to stay out of the judgment business. And that's one of our mantras is to not be judging others. We're a hospital, not a courtroom.
Right.
But there's poor Mary, and I think if that were her, and really we all are the Mary in our lives, and we appreciate the fact that Christ comes to us and says, "Hey, I'm going to love you as you are. It's going to be okay. Now, but get up when you're done and don't be doing the stupid stuff."
Well, and then that's what I loved, because it was like, you're not just people, when you butt up against this idea of judgment, you were like, well, you're just telling people they can do whatever they want to do. And they're missing the point. The point of this story, and I think Jesus sums this up, and you said this weekend, it's like, I'm not going to throw stones at you, but I'm going to encourage you to stop doing the things that are harming you.
Yeah.
And I think there's this balance that has to take place.
Yeah, begin to be the best version of you can be. This is not it.
Right.
And, of course, if you take that statement and you look at your life or my life, there's probably not a week that goes by that we couldn't say, hear the words of Christ in our head, be the best version of you can be. This was not it.
Right.
You were too harsh, you were too sharp, or maybe you weren't outwardly but inwardly. You were, jumping up and down.
Right.
When things don't go exactly as planned and you start, freaking out, sometimes it's better to say, look, just take a deep breath. Be the best version of yourself. And I think that's good, wholesome talk for anyone.
Absolutely.
In any faith or even without faith. I think it's a good challenge for us. And I think that's why we go back to the teachings of Jesus. They are for humanity. They make us all better. They make the community better. They make us better. And what better time to celebrate that than Easter, when all of a sudden you say, but there's a resurrection. Of course. Where there is death, there is life. There's the winter when things die off, and the spring when things become new again. And I think that every year we have the chance to realize, hey, I can become new again. And just because I have failed my own expectations, even though I've been less than my best, and maybe that's a good definition of sin, is when I live a life that's just not the best version of me that I can.
Right.
That I basically have some moments of confession. Hey, I screwed this up. This is not who I really am, and I can do better with the help of God.
Yeah.
And you go on. And I think that's the new beginning.
When you say we're a hospital, not a courtroom, it's not that the hospital doesn't tell you things to encourage you to get better. If
Right.
you come in with a heart attack, they're going to treat you. They're going to take care of you. They're not going to yell at you for eating Burger King every single day, but they're going to treat you, and then they're going to say, hey, here's some things that you can do to have healthier habits, so maybe you don't have a heart attack in a couple years.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that you do really well as leader of this community is you encourage people. You don't judge them, but you encourage them with things that they can do in their lives to live a better life.
And really, for me, the most judgment I ever have is for me.
Yeah.
And how do I deal with that? And honestly, I think in the next series, Practical Prescriptions, one of the topics we're going to talk about is how do I deal with me? And how do I keep from judging myself so harshly? How can I forgive myself? And how can I help me do better? And I can if I just allow myself.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're burdened by shame and guilt, and we want to feel low, or we want to feel depressed or discouraged. So I think that's part of the whole thing. So I think, Easter is a great reminder. I don't have to be the same person tomorrow that I am today. I can be a better version of that person. And I may look the same, talk the same, and in essence, I am the same, but my heart can be aimed a little higher.
Yeah.
If I allow that to happen.
That's amazing. So We have Practical Prescription 2.0. You kind of already teased that a little bit. It's coming up starting this weekend. And could we just have like just a little bit of a rundown of what you're thinking as far as what that's going to be like? Because I'm super excited about it.
Well, a few years ago, I read a book by Jordan Peterson, The 12 Rules for Life. And I think it's a great book. And with that, he gives some principles. And I have those principles in my head. And a lot of this is going to be Jordan Peterson-esque. But it's amazing. Jordan Peterson didn't create these. A lot of these have biblical principles behind them. And what I endeavor to do is take the pattern of some of those rules and turn them into principles and guides for life. I don't like the word rules as well. I understand it, but for me, I use other synonyms. But I think there are stories that Jesus proclaims and tells that reinforce a lot of these principles. They're not his principles or mine. These are principles that have been handed down through humanity. And I think they're good principles to live by. And one of them, is, tell the truth. I think that's an important principle of life, and we're going to talk about that. Be confident. Hold your head up high is another principle. And there's about a dozen of these. We're going to see if we can make it through that many weeks. But at the end of this teaching, what we want to do is give you a principle that you can put on your mirror like a little prescription pad with a little note for you from me to me that says, today I'm going to read this out loud because I think if I begin to believe these principles, it will help me become a better person, a better version of myself. So these are all not self-help things, but these are principles that have been delivered. They're in the Bible. They come throughout history, and I think they will help us become better. So we're excited about that. It's a lot of work to do something like this.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been working on it for weeks, and I think it'll be a fun time to look inward, challenge people to look inward, and some of the principles will be silly. I mean, but even in their silliness, they will be, oh, wow, this has a great truth in it.
Absolutely. And I too, I've read 12 Rules for Life. I think it's a fantastic book. And I think Jordan does a really good job of citing a lot of biblical stories, which I was really surprised in the book. He has almost a biblical story for every principle that he lays out. And so I'm really excited about this series. I think it's going to be fantastic. Pastor, thank you for coming on the One More Thing podcast. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
My pleasure.